Okay, the fields of probiotics is ever emerging. It's very interesting. It's not exactly new. So we have seen a lot of these new health benefits coming up for the past 3 decades. So prior to that, it's always on gut health, gut-associated diseases and disorders. But for the past 3 decades, we see new functions coming out for women's health, for metabolic diseases, and now for brain. So we do see such potentials, primarily because we don't know the existence of these benefits before. And now with new technologies, new knowledge, new platforms coming up, we actually see more evidence of this happening. That's one. And secondly, our gut is actually a reservoir of neurons. So basically, there are a lot of communications happening there. And gut-brain axis is one very important and very interesting highway that we finally managed to see some lights into its benefits. Yes, I do see very huge potentials in this aspect. Psychobiotic is a very interesting term. It's a very interesting aspect of health also, new aspect. And I've been following this researcher, Professor Ted Dinnan. He was the one who first quoted, or one of the pioneers to quote this particular term back in 2012. He is from UCC. So basically, psychobiotic merges the term of probiotics and psychological health. So probiotics, as we know, are beneficial microorganisms that if we ingest in adequate amount would confer health benefits to the host, may it be animals or humans. Psychological health, now that's the interesting part because it covers a wide range of fields. People always think about just stress, anxiety, depression. But what people do not realize is that all these are also associated with memory, cognition, and now with new evidence coming in to support this psychobiotic effect, it actually could target neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, even autism. So the term that was initially termed earlier in 2012 may have a more narrow meaning, but now it has garnered more and more momentum, interest, data, scientific evidence, and it's now broader. So a very interesting term indeed for future benefits of probiotics. Many people are always asking, well, probiotics are in the gut, we eat that. They don't travel to the brain. They don't have to travel to the brain. Our gut is a reservoir of neurons. Many things can happen there. Receptors. The gut is actually a very complex community on its own. So other than the probiotics that we're eating, guts also have a lot of other microbiota that exist. So probiotic, when we ingest in, they will naturally produce a lot of metabolites. And some of these metabolites will directly affect the host. Some may not, but it may affect the microbiota inside. And these microbiota communicate among each other and also with the probiotic, and they eventually will affect the host. So I always think of a very good analog with humans. Imagine we have a classroom of children, and then there is a newcomer coming into the classroom, and this new kid can actually affect the teacher directly. But without doing so, this new kid can also affect all the other children in the class, and they collectively can also affect the teacher. So because of this, I see that probiotics will actually exert its benefits via neurons, via receptors from the gut, sending signals directly to the brain. Several strains of probiotics have also been shown to produce certain identified metabolites that affect the neurons in the gut, that send signals of stress hormones to the brain and reduce these effects in the brain directly. Of course, these are being under patented. Some we can find, some we cannot. But to our knowledge, with this new technology of metabolomics, we are finding these new edges. So yes, it is possible. Gut-brain axis is just one of it. We are seeing many others. Gut-skin axis, gut-kidney axis, gut-liver axis. There are many of these axes that exist. Lactobacillus plantarum DR7 is a very unique strain. So it first started with a collaboration with a Malaysian company. They were very interested to discover new strains of probiotics, and they went through my university to have me as a consultant. So together, we developed several strains, many, and then we started screening for health benefits and so on. And we finally found that DR7, Lactobacillus plantarum DR7, or DR7 in short, actually could have some potentials for brain health. And that was when we started evaluating it for very small model using fruit flies, then after that to rats, then after that eventually to human. And this strain was also very unique, that it managed to garner the interest of international global industries. So as far as I know, 1 or 2 years ago, it was successfully licensed to some companies in China, in Korea, and also this year, I believe, globally licensed for brain health benefits. It was initially isolated from cow's milk in Penang, Malaysia. There are many studies right now conducting in humans that use probiotics for mental health. And mental health in general are normally emphasized on stress, anxiety, and to a more serious extent, maybe depression. For DR7, we plan to do it a little bit differently. So other than just stress, anxiety, and depression, we also did on memory and cognition, because we believed when someone is stressed, it would eventually affect its memory and cognitive abilities. DR7 exerted effects in our human study, through reducing stress, reducing anxiety. It didn't have effects on depression. However, when these stressed people were going through stress and anxiety, DR7 also improved their memory and also enhanced their cognitive ability. In addition, we also look at some possible mechanisms. Some of the mechanisms include inflammation. So DR7 reduced blood inflammatory properties. Inflammation is an important parameter because for neurodegenerative disorders or diseases, in many instances, there have been detected inflammation in the brain. The next potential of DR7 involves the neurotransmitters pathway of the brain. So there are 4 neurotransmitters pathway in the brain: serotonin, GABA, dopamine, and norepinephrine. For the pathway of serotonin, DR7 exerted an effect. DR7 actually reduced the conversion of what we call tryptophan in the brain to a bad compound called kynurenine. Instead, it directed the conversion of tryptophan in the brain to serotonin. And serotonin is also known as the happy neurotransmitter. The human study that we conducted, it involved stressed subjects. They are not patients, they are not actually sick. We don't hospitalize someone for mere stress. And they have mild to moderate stress levels. So that was the inclusion criteria. There must be stress before we included them into studies. We had 111 of stress subjects. It was a placebo control, it was double-blind, and it was randomized. So the human study went on for 12 weeks, which means the subjects had to eat either DR7 or the placebo for 12 weeks. And we evaluated the effects of anxiety, stress, depression, some memory, and some cognitive parameters. There are many stresses in today's lifestyle, and many do not realize that stress do not just occur from overworking, overloading, and so on. It can actually be triggered by some very petty factors, such as being stuck in a traffic light, overdue deadlines, or even failure or late in responding to social media. So those are all stressors. That's one. And secondly, stress is not a disease. We do not treat stress. We manage stress. Unless stress is prolonged, not managed, and it continues to become anxiety and subsequently depression, then drug intervention is used to treat those. But we don't treat stress. So one important lesson that we've learned from our human study is that DR7 could actually reduce stress levels. It actually showed that these stressed people can be treated, and stress one day which may be a disease, can actually be treated. And on top of that, I think that it is very important to treat stress more seriously. In developed countries, stress costs over $1 billion annually because of hospitalization, medical claims, insurance claims, reduction in performance because of stress, and also absentia. Absentia not just in workplace, but also in school. And all those cost money. So stress is actually a very big factor to be taken seriously. Past management of stress has always emphasized on mental health state. Mental health state is actually very broad. And not to mention, not many people are aware, stress do not just affect mental health state. There are actually a lot of variation from head to toe. We can look at gastrointestinal stress. We can look at skeletal muscular stress. We can look at oxidative stress. And now we even have this category called hospitalization stress. So a lot of these stress factors are not assessed through the normal mental health state. So right now, with the use of DR7, which goes beyond just mental state, which covers also cognition and memory, inflammation, which also affect immune systems and conditions, can actually play a bigger role. It may not just affect mental health, but throughout bodily. And I strongly believe that with all these axes going on, gut-brain axis, gut-liver axis, we've got immune axis, there are great potentials of how DR7 or any other probiotics for mental health in specific that could actually benefit the mental or brain health landscape in the future.